It's almost Christmas, and if you want that Christmas spirit to embrace you, take a walk around Strasbourg, which is known as the most beautiful Christmas city in the world. And as we head into the most wonderful time of the year, welcome to Kaleidoscope with me, Savithri Rodrigo, where we always want to stay positive, daring, and different. Today we are picking our winners for those amazing dinners for two and the fabulous hamper from Park Street Gourmet. A massive thank you to our partners on the show for being fantastic. Srilanka Live CDB, The Daily Morning, Park Street Gourmet, Park Street Wines and Zip Zip. If you like Kaleidoscope, don't forget to subscribe, like and follow us. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. A quick look at the week that was on CDB Snapshot. Sri Lanka gets $250 million from the World Bank, the second tranche in lieu of the Sri Lanka Resilience, Stability and Economic Turnaround, Reset, Development Policy Operation. Sri Lanka's GDP for the third quarter in 2023 jumps to 2.9 billion rupees, a 1.6% growth year-on-year. Tea prices surge at the Colombo tea auctions due to the Sri Lanka-Iran tea for oil barter mechanism. The manufacturing sector expands after 8 months due to seasonal demand and a decline in rates. Rembrandt's smallest portraits, recently rediscovered after 2 centuries, are now on show in Amsterdam. Princess Diana's star-spangled blue and black dress sells for a whopping $1.148 million. We promised you a Santa drop, some super gifts for Christmas, and here are the winners. Winning a dinner for two at Plates Cinnamon Grand is Pramod Pereira from Colombo 3. The winner of a dinner for two at the dining room at Cinnamon Lakeside is Dinukar Batuvitta from Kalania. And a dinner for two at Cinnamon Reds Flavoured is won by Joel Outskoon of Devala. And that bumper hamper from Park Street Gourmet is won by Andrea McShane from Piliandala.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Life News Capsule. A hotly debated topic right now is the increase of value-added tax to 18% from January. Several VAT exemptions will also be eliminated in the new year. The reasoning being Sri Lanka needs to fast-track revenue collection for macroeconomic stability and sustainable growth targets. I caught up with Senior Research Fellow at Advocata Institute, Roshan Pereira, over Zoom to get some clarity. Welcome, Roshan. Do you think Sri Lanka can actually have fiscal consolidation by increasing that to 18%? Or is this just to appease the IMF and our creditors?
So Budget 2024 targets a primary surplus of 0.8% of GDP in 2024. So it's kind of a revenue-centered fiscal consolidation that we're looking at. And so the main thing is through tax revenue. And the government expects to increase this tax revenue by 3 percentage points of GDP to 13%. And of this, VAT is going to be the main source of revenue collection. This is a very ambitious target, but it is essential that we keep this primary deficit target because it is basically the performance criteria under the IMF program. So if that is so, we really need to also look at expenditure and to rationalize expenditure, which we have not really seen in the budget for 2024.
There have been 8 changes to VAT since 2002, twice in 2022 alone. In the long term, how sustainable are these ad hoc changes?
When the VAT was initially introduced to Sri Lanka in the early 2000s, it was based on a very careful study. We implemented in 2002. By 2004, say, once it was sort of established in the country, VAT revenue to GDP increased to 6%. Now, this has come down to 2%, mainly because we have basically made all these ad hoc changes to the tax regime. So, it is important that we have a very consistent tax policy. One, for revenue collection, because even tax administration is very difficult if you keep changing the regime. But definitely also for businesses. First, we need to see what is the targeted revenue we need to have, and then determine the tax rates, the threshold, and the exemption list based on that.
The latest increase will reduce purchasing power, disposable income quantum, and also reduce demand for goods. What will this do to the economy in 2024?
So unfortunately, as a country and as households, we have been spending more than we have earned. Right? So and have racked up huge debts. Now, basically, we have to deal with the consequences by tightening our belts, both as a country and also as households. So yes, I think higher taxes will definitely have an impact on disposable income and purchasing power. But then what is the alternative? Because governments can fund the expenditure either through what we call an inflation tax, which is basically borrowing from the central bank and increasing the amount of money in circulation, which was our experience in the last few years. And what did the central bank basically was financing the deficit. But what did that lead to? We had inflation rates of over 70%, which basically wiped out people's incomes. Now, at least the government has stopped financing its deficits by borrowing from the central bank. Because actually for a government, it's very easy to tax using an inflation tax because there's much less resistance from people. But the overall impact on the economy will be much larger. So I think in the next short to medium term, we will have to go with these taxes until we have better macro stabilization. But then maybe we can start reducing taxes.
At the Colombo Stock Exchange this week, the all share price index dropped by 2%, with the average daily turnover levels staying below 1 billion rupees. Even with increased tension in the Red Sea, slowing construction and manufacturing activities in the United States and major European economies, oil did not breach the $80 per barrel mark. Gold prices moved above $2,000 per ounce on news that the US Federal Reserve would be looking to reduce interest rates in the coming year. American Broadcasting Network's annual Christmas light fight was won this year by a spectacular drone light show featuring over 20,000 lights, moving heads, and talking Christmas trees. Something very unique is happening in Bethlehem this year. The age-old nativity scene is being changed and Christmas celebrations are being cancelled. All the church heads in Jerusalem will only have prayers and place a manger in the midst of rubble as a home for baby Jesus, because that is symbolic of the many children, dead and alive, who have been pulled out of the rubble. It's a message to the world that this is what Christmas looks like in the city where Jesus was born. It's about reminding the world that children are buried under rubble, families are displaced and destroyed, and Christmas is only an illusion. Peace is the last thing that's happening in Jerusalem right now, and for millennia, peace has been elusive to this region, which in a way is ironic because the Prince of Peace was born here. With Christmas around the corner, what is there to celebrate? On Let's Talk today is a man who is a real history buff and the one we turn to when we want a historic perspective, the CEO of World Vision Lanka, Dr. Danan Senatiraja. Danan, Christmas is just around the corner. What's Christmas looking like in Jerusalem and Bethlehem?
Usually it's a time of great rejoicing and celebration, but sadly this time because of the Gaza war, things are looking rather bleak now. And there are no celebrations and people are in a rather somber mood. So it's not a very joyous occasion this year.
So putting on your historian hat, give me the context of where Jerusalem and Bethlehem stand right now.
So basically, Jerusalem is divided into two. The western part of Jerusalem was under Israel and the eastern part was under Jordan at one point. But after an earlier war in 1967, Jerusalem was unified by Israel. And it became part of Israel, and Bethlehem, of course, is in West Bank, which is under Palestinian control.
So the Middle East has never had peace in the context, has it?
It's tough in the sense, I don't think any part of the world has had peace forever. And the Middle East in particular, and around Jerusalem, there has always been many, many wars through the centuries. Jerusalem, more than any other place in this world, has been attacked and besieged and taken over by different warring armies. And that part is continued. Even during the Ottoman Empire, there were wars. Then soon after that, the First World War, then the British Mandate. And then 3 wars have been fought between Israel and the Palestinians or the other Arab nations. So it has always been a hotly contested piece of real estate.
Given the great divide, so to speak, what does Christmas mean to the Palestinians and the Israelites?
Okay. For the Israelites, Christmas doesn't mean a thing. In fact, during Christmas time, Jerusalem is highly decorated and it's full of lights, but they're celebrating a Jewish festival, which is Hanukkah, the festival of lights. Whereas in the eastern part of Jerusalem, which is more Palestinian, and in the Bethlehem area, there are Christmas lights and Christmas celebrations. And it's interesting to note that during Christmas time, the Muslims and the Christians come together to celebrate the birth of Christ. And especially Bethlehem is full of festivities. You have the Boy Scouts parades and churches come, and the Jerusalem patriarchs visit the city of Bethlehem. They have joyous occasions, dancing on Christmas morning in the manger square, and that also involves visitors from all over the world, pilgrims who come there to celebrate Christmas.
There's a cancellation, so to speak, of Christmas celebrations in Jerusalem and in Palestine. What would that do to the economy of that area, which actually works mostly on tourism?
Actually, 90% of the Palestinian economy or the West Bank economy is dependent on tourism. And this time the hotels are closed, and the usual Christmas tree, the 22-foot Christmas tree, has not been set up. No celebrations because of the suffering of the people both in Israel as well as in Gaza.
Is peace difficult for the Middle East given its history?
I'm an incurable optimist, and I would say that it is possible. We have had peace in various other places where we thought it was never possible. Again, it takes the effort of many people, many nations, to bring these two groups together. There has been a lot of injustice towards both groups, and no human being is perfect. But I think if all the nations put their efforts together, including the UN and the Big Five, that is United States, Russia, France, United Kingdom, and EU as a whole, if they get together, they can bring about peace, provided that the Israeli government, the present government, is a bit intransigent. If they and the Palestinians, those who represent the Palestinians, can come together and are willing, we can bring about the two-state solution, and that will bring peace, lasting peace, that will also influence the rest of the Middle East and the whole world.
Have
Very
a blessed
true.
Christmas, Danan. Thank you.
Thank you, Savithri.
Earlier on the show, we discussed the Holy City, and now on Park Street Gourmet Life in 60, we add that soulful song about the Holy City written by Stephen Adams, which was sung by the Music Ministry Choir at the St. Andrew's Scots Kirk Carol service. Blessed Christmas, may your season be joyous. We will be back with our last show for 2023 next week.